Hello, friend. Oh, I have been doing some listening and reading and just kind of sorting some things out, because that's what I do every day. I sift and sort and I choose what I'm focusing on, and I choose what I'm giving to myself when I do that. And it's not always pretty, it's not always fun or easy. Sometimes it's really hard. Usually because I'm recognizing that I am doing or focusing or doing unwanted. And so there's definitely a beautiful dance that I've been learning where the moves are becoming more and more natural. So I'm learning the moves through practicing my focus. And at times I have struggled with that. And I think I've come to some helpful insight that allows me to assume the narrative that I want. So that's really been a big one for me, is finding not necessarily, maybe a little bit of what the narrative is, but more like how to stay grounded and centered while I'm putting it together. And so I wanted to share something that's been very profoundly helpful to me recently. I'm not much for reading the Bible or doing like I like Jesus, and I like the teachings of Jesus about it just being love. But I did find some things that I really appreciate. And in anywhere I will find helpful truths, and I will put those into my toolbox, and I will utilize them. And this, however, is I'm finding to be very effective in helping me with some things that have been a little sticky. And so I don't really have these in a specific order, but I may have made a video before where I talked about something that Jesus said, and I don't have the verse or anything like that. It's just, it's what I've written down in my notes. To love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And to love others as you love yourself. And I believe that it's possible to love yourself if you're loving God, or the inner man, or the inner being, with all your heart, mind, and soul. Then you will be able to love yourself. And it will be clear and fresh and natural. And then from that, you can extend that to loving others as you love yourself. And I believe that it has to be done in that order for it to be healthy. And I think that's the way it's designed to do it. It's like people don't go to a fruit tree, cut the branches off the fruit tree, and then expect fruit to grow from those branches. That would be backwards. You plant a fruit tree, you nurture it. You know that strong roots and nutrients to the roots allow the tree to grow, produce branches that produce fruit. Without the roots, the branches don't produce anything. There's nothing. They're just branches. They're dead. The roots nourish everything that comes. So it's like the roots are the inner world and the branches are the outer world bearing the fruit of that. And I don't know, I just find that to be really, really helpful in keeping my focus, because at times it's a practice. I get distracted and I can get off balance, but I try not to beat myself up. I try not to beat myself up about things when I get off track or get off balance, because that's counterproductive. And I feel better if I just be like, oh, okay, that didn't feel good. What could feel better than what I just experienced? What could feel better than what just happened? And then I can explore that new narrative, the wanted narrative, and I can do that all within the safety and limitlessness of my imagination with my inner being, where I'm free and where everything I want is available to me. And so I don't have to look outside myself and push and fight and struggle. I used to do that a lot. I mean, a lot. Without even meaning to or trying to. It was just what was happening, because I was learning how to let go of my outer world focus. It's very compelling to get caught up in it. And when that happens, it begins to complicate things in my life. Like, makes things harder than they have to be, or struggle. Just pain in general, emotional pain, physical pain can show up. And I don't have to go through that. I do believe that I'm finding my balance more and more every day. And sometimes my balance is just so off that I take a break, or just try not to I try to distract myself with anything that will bring relief, that's healthy, that's and then that brings me to the next part. So there's a thing they say, you are a heavenly citizen of heaven, like you're a citizen of heaven. And I like that, because to me heaven is this freedom that's in the imagination. It can be whatever you want it to be, and it can reveal itself to you also, things that you're not making up and just making, like when you're a child and you are playing make-believe. I do believe that our inner being can reveal things to us as we're ready and able to explore, have that insight available. I've experienced with listening to videos, like I'll listen to it, and sometimes there are things in it that I won't even hear. It really won't register until until after I've listened to it several times, which I just find that really curious that it will happen like that. But anyways, so we're all heavenly citizens. We're all citizens of heaven. And to build a heaven within our imagination, our inner world, I think it's important to clothe yourself. Like it says, this is what I'm getting from the Bible. But it fits, and it's perfect. You clothe yourself if you want to change states, or assume a state, or change the inner man, the inner beingness of you. You clothe yourself in compassion, in kindness, in humility, in gentleness, and in patience. If you are loving God, loving Source, loving your inner being, yourself, with all your heart, mind, and soul, then you are in naturally I am compassion. You are naturally I am kindness. These are the states that you are naturally. And what we are is beyond a state. But just for this, discussion, it's easier to just lay it out like this. But humility, I am humble. I am humility. I am gentle. I am gentleness. I am patient. I have all the patience that I could ever need or want. It's all within me. So I really appreciated when Edward Art was talking in his most recent video about a house, a home. And if that home is filled with terrible, awful energy and abuse or toxic interactions, eventually you will want to leave that home. It won't feel good to stay there. And sometimes people never leave that home, that abusive state of being. And I think the way out of a home like that, our mind, is giving ourselves a home that's filled with love and beauty and peace and calm and fun and It's all starts with clothing yourself in these garments of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. Like, I like to be around people that are that way, and I like to be that way. Am I that way all the time? No, I'm not. But I am practicing, I am persisting in remembering who I am, remembering what I can do to have the experiences that feel most attuned to what I want. And so this has kind of been a big one. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Keep no records of wrong. It's really important not to hold things against ourselves, because then I believe it's much more tempting to hold wrongs or perceived wrongs against others. And I know I have struggled with that and a lot in my life. And being merciful to myself means that I'm giving myself, compassion. I'm clothing myself in the virtues and the states that, to assume those states, will allow me to thrive. Because here's another one. Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And what I interpret that as, in my imagination, right, in my inner world, if a man remains in me, so if I remain in my inner world with my inner beingness is in me, right? Staying. So either way you flip it, it's going to be that unity. There's no disconnection. And then through my inner being, my branches will bear fruit. And the fruit that they bear witness to what I'm giving to myself. And I know that doesn't always feel good to hear that, especially if things in your outer world don't feel good, and you're having struggles, or whatever it may be that you might be going through. I can say from my personal experience, within the last 3 weeks, so 3 weeks ago, I made a choice. I really took to heart some things that I was listening to by Edward Art, and I decided to completely remove my attention from whatever the biggest thing in front of me was, whatever that was. And for me, it was having 13 goats running amok all around my property, and just being lovely goats, doing what goats do, which is just being completely unruly, climbing all over everything, uh, headbutting, but having absolute free range of my my property, and most especially because goats, like people, they want to be close to the peoples, so they would just hang out here. My paths would just be covered in goat poop, and they were all up in my husband's workshop, and oh my gosh, it was such a hot mess. Had been carrying around months of, probably since since September, right, when they became free, because we couldn't keep them penned in. We didn't have the right fencing and all that. So I was in a space where I did not feel good, where I was really unhappy. Every time I would look out my front door, or I would hear them just rummaging around and climbing on things, and I would just be like, so, oh my gosh, I felt negative. I felt really, really negative. I can laugh about it now, because here's the thing, I couldn't make anything happen in my outside world. I couldn't push to get rid of the goats. They're my husband's goats. I couldn't, I didn't have the money for the fencing, so it's not like I could just go put in fencing. I literally just had to completely withdraw my attention from the whole thing. And I had to be like, willing to go within to give myself what I wanted. So what I wanted was to be in a space of relief, and to be happy, calm, relaxed, non-stressed, just believe that it was really going to work itself out, because look, that was my opportunity. Everything in your outer world, it's all there always to show you, hey, you have the power to decide what state you're going to assume. And then, and only then, can the universe, your inner being, work and move all the things around to make things happen that you cannot do yourself, by yourself, of your own accord. Sometimes there are just so many moving pieces, and you cannot keep track of it all, because I don't think that's what we're designed to do. If we were, I would have figured out a way to deal with it on my own, in the outer world, and I could not. I could not make it different. So, September, October, November, December, so yeah, by the 14th of December, my husband, before then, he had made the decision on his own. I didn't badger him. I didn't guilt him or fight with him about it. I did nothing. I literally did nothing. I stopped talking about the goats, commenting about the goats. I stopped thinking about the unwanted aspects of having the goats running amok, right? And my husband on his own, made the decision to take the goats to auction. And I felt conflicted too. I mean, I wanted most of them to go, but I was still like, maybe we should keep, 4 of the females. And because I like the goats. In theory, I like female goats a lot more. Or withered goats are fine too, but I was attached to, at least one of the females. And goats, you can't keep them alone. They have to have friends. They have to have buddies. So, and we talked about it over a couple days, saying, maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea, but ultimately it was my husband's decision. And he chose to take all the goats to auction, and including our duck, because without the goats here, the duck would be incredibly lonely and more probably sad than ever, because all of its other duck friends got eaten over the summer by probably a fox. So I know that the duck is now in a better place, because the duck probably went to join other ducks and is, I'm sure, in a very happy way of being. And the goats as well. They're really good, healthy goats. And I honestly, after a couple of days of the goats not being here, it just felt like such a relief, a huge weight, financial, time, just everything surrounding those goats. Not having them here suddenly just lifted a huge burden off of my husband, and as well as me, because I know it was a burden for him, and even though we were trying, it wasn't enough. And I feel like he made the right decision, even though at first it felt really hard. He gave us complete freedom by choosing that, which, is really what I had given to myself on my inner, was complete freedom to be free of all stress and anxiety surrounding the goats. But I never said that to him, not in the outer world. Everything I did about the goats, I did within myself. I gave myself the feeling of that relief, that knowing that everything was going to work out. And it was going to work out better than what I was even imagining or giving to myself. It was going to be even better than that. And it has turned out to be just that. I feel like I've got more space to give myself more of what I want. And my husband's back at woodworking, and that is something that he hasn't even had time for in over 3 years. And it's something that really soothes him, and it's very meditative, and I always look forward to whatever it is he's making, and for him to share that with me. And it feels like now there's just been this space where we can both breathe, and we're not feeling all the weight of, just sometimes everything can just feel like it's just weighing down on you, and it wasn't feeling like that anymore. So I just thought that some of these things, I felt they were really helpful. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Oh yes, we don't need to chase the fruits individually. So when I said that Jesus is that I am the vine and you are the branches, it goes on to say we don't need to chase these fruits outside of ourselves individually. We don't have to chase after God's love or patience. We are called only to love God with all our heart, mind, and soul, right? Make your home within your inner being, within Christ, within your imagination. All the same. Where the fruit grows naturally for you it's going to be effortless when you do this for yourself. So I don't have all the answers. And there are some days where I'm not completely feeling exactly the way I want to feel. But it's getting easier to shift into what I want because I am giving myself what I want. I am taking notes and I'm laying out whatever it is that comes up, how I want to deal with it. I can tell you that anything in the outer world, if you want it to get better, there's nothing to do in the outer world to make it better. I mean, if you can, go ahead, but you don't have to push and get all worked up about it, right? If the answer is not just an obvious next step, then I just take it within. I take it to my inner being, to where the only change possible for me can happen. And when I do that, and I love God, right? Love my inner being with all my heart, mind, and soul, I can't help but believe that everything is going to, it already is perfect for me. And I just need to catch up with it by changing what I'm giving to myself, right? If I don't like something in my outer world. So, like with the goats, I took back my attention from the outer world and everything to do with that topic, and I gave myself what I wanted, which was peace and calm and just doing things that I wanted to do, enjoying time with my husband. I gave myself the joy of seeing him doing what he loves and being happy and content and satisfied. Those things, that goes a long way when you give that to yourself consistently. And if you don't make the effort to do that through practicing doing that whenever something does come up that doesn't feel good, that is unwanted, or that makes you feel riled up, if you don't go within first, it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to take a lot longer. And that's okay. I don't give myself hell about it. I just say, oh wow, hey, look at how much easier it was when I stepped back and I did this. Well, I'm going to keep doing that. And as I keep doing that, I bet I'm going to find more and more ways to help me feel better and better, to find relief wherever I need to find it, wherever it's, wherever it comes up. Because if I'm the problem, I'm also the solution. So that what that really means is there is no problem, there's only a solution. And it's up to me to look at it. Am I looking at all the problems, or am I looking at relief? Because relief brings solutions. Whatever solutions come, they come from a place of relief, of allowing, of letting go, of trusting, of willingness to just let my inner being sort through and move around all the cooperative components to make what I want happen. What I want, or better, will happen. It always does. But I have to be patient. If I get impatient, things start sucking. really get really sucky. and that's why kindness is important. If I'm in a pissy way about something, I'm probably not in a state of kindness. I'm probably not being kind to myself. And if I'm not being kind to myself, how am I loving God with all my heart, mind, and soul? How is that me loving my inner being with all of my heart, mind, and soul, if I'm being unkind to myself? Unkind is just a distraction from what I want, which is to be kind, to feel kindness, to feel grace, in giving myself these garments, So every day I get up, I get dressed, and before I put on any real clothes, I affirm and I re-familiarize myself with putting on my compassion, and I put on my kindness, right? And I put on my humility, and I put on my gentleness, and then I put on my patience, because something's going to come up. So you might as well put on patience. And then you tie it all together with that belt. That belt is love. It's love. It's pure love. The love that I have for God, for my inner beingness. That's me loving God with all my heart, mind, and soul. And it binds everything together. It binds the garments together so they stay in place much better. Because I've made that something wanted in my life, right? I want that for myself. And that's what I'm sharing. I'm sharing with you how I have gone from feeling like a hot mess to feeling like I can breathe, like things make sense, like even if something isn't making sense in a moment, I can give myself a space of grace, and I know that everything is okay, because I go within, and I love with my heart, mind, and soul, all of me. I give that to myself in my inner world, to my inner being. And I'm getting the immediate relief that comes, that peace that comes from trusting in here, and not trying to find and look and argue and defend and justify and condemn all the outer stuff. None of that brings me peace and joy. Everything that brings me peace and joy, it all comes from here, And I don't have to feel bad for the times where I was not wearing those garments. I don't have to feel down on myself for forgetting or just being completely stuck, feeling stuck in states that just were not really what I wanted. But I was like more and more of those, heavy states, sticky, hard states. I recognize now more clearly what those states are, and as a result, I know it's getting through. I know what I'm learning when I listen to people talking about the law of assumption, when I listen to Edward Art's videos, or I go and I read his writings, when I read the comments, when I see what other people are doing, I'm finding that within me is this never-ending ability to adapt to joy. New and newer levels of joy continue to reveal themselves to me. And that's not, it's not unusual. That's not a weird thing. That's not somebody being like toxically optimistic or whatever they like to call that. It really feels like the truth of me. And as I am getting more and more comfortable wearing the truth of me in the inner, it's evident in the outer. And the old narratives, they really do start just dissolving and melting away. They won't ever really dissolve and melt away, though, if I keep them alive with my attention and my belief. And I love God too much. I love my inner being too much to sin against it that way, to abandon myself and sin against others. As if you're sinning against yourself and abandoning yourself, it's easy to do that to other people. And they're just mirroring back to me what I'm giving to myself on the inner. And that, is okay. I can forgive myself when I do trespass and I do abandon myself from time to time. I don't have to stay in that narrative. I don't have to stay in that state. I am free. I am free, and I assume to be as free as I please in any given situation and with any given person, with any given object, whatever it is. I can walk through my life in my inner world, and I can know that my outer world will reflect that back to me. And it keeps showing up in ways that are faster than things just start happening. that you don't necessarily anticipate that feel good and that bring you a great deal of satisfaction or comfort or ease. And I don't think that what I'm experiencing by sharing this with you, I don't think it's anything special. Honestly, don't think I'm doing something incredibly unique or special. I really feel it's the truth of this from the core of my being is that this is natural. It's like what we came here to do. And I've just been picking off the distractions, like little burrs, when you go for, those little sticker burrs, if you go walking through the woods and you come out of the woods and they're in your legs and maybe some of your shirt is just covered in those little sticky briar burrs. That's all it is. All of those little burrs are just like little distractions. And I don't let them have the kind of power over me that I used to. And I don't think that is a remarkable, like superpower or anything. I think we're all capable of it. It's just having some willingness to, shift the focus. And I've found my I have found a great sense of effectiveness when I'm listening to Edward's videos, or I'm listening to, just other people who are bringing truthing, and that's all I can want is to just allow myself to have that. And if it doesn't feel good and I'm not allowing myself to have what I want, I can solve that. It's really not a huge, difficult issue. I don't have to make it into one. And that is, to me, a crowning achievement in my life, to be able to do that. To not, underneath the surface, right, of this body, to under the surface just be a swirling mass of heavy, burdensome emotions and fugues and distractions. I know what that's like. It doesn't have to be exactly like yours. It's enough that we all go through it each in our own ways, but it's to help us, because finding tools and truths that help us, that is a beautiful way that we help ourselves, right? By helping others. That's why we aren't here alone on a planet, just wandering around, just one person on one planet. There wouldn't be expansion or growth. And yeah, it wouldn't be any fun either. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to say happy holidays to anyone who celebrates Christmas or the holidays. I hope it's beautiful inside of your world, and that the new year is amazing for you. Until we talk again, friend, much love.